Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Lessons Learned, the dumbest thing I've ever done with money. My name is Suzanne, and I'm your head coach at Grace Financial Coaching, and I am super excited to welcome Destiny Jordan today. Destiny is coming to us from Destination Coaching. She is a financial coach. She also works in partnership with Privileged Planning. And if you want to know more about millennials, Gen Z, if you are part of that generation that needs to learn a little bit more about money than Destiny here is your girl. Destiny, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Suzanne. You are
Yeah.
loved so much.
So let's first start off by talking about your coaching business, and let's focus specifically on that group that seems to be a hot topic, millennials and Gen Z. We're recording this in June of 2022. The economy is not looking so hot, and some of these people are starting to get a bad reputation about not caring about their money and not saving. So, what is your experience as a member of Gen Z, as a younger millennial, depending on your demographics?
Right.
Uh, about what's going on with them and money right now.
Um, so pretty much, I've dealt with both groups of people. And as far as my age group, it's Gen Z, we're definitely taking things a lot different than millennials are. We're really, I wouldn't say on it, but kind of on the situation. It's more like is it loud in my background?
No, you're good. You're good.
So it's more like, I don't know. I feel like we're more focused on the situation, on the money. Um, like the people that I have had like short coaching sessions with, they have really been I don't know. It's like we're taking it and we're accepting it, and like pretty much we don't take any bull crap. And that's kind of how we're looking at the situation. We're not really looking at it. I don't know. It's kind of like everything sucks. But I don't know. We just have like a really strong mindset about the world, a different outlook, and that could be
Mhm.
our generation. And so we're taking it with a grain of salt. I mean, we don't really have a choice, but
That no, but I think that's a good point because instead of being an ostrich and sticking your head in the sand,
mm,
taking everything with a grain of salt, especially the economy, money, the fact that maybe they can't save as much as they want. But let's talk about the difference between millennials and Gen Z,
mm,
because millennials, and I'm an older millennial, full disclosure, we get this bad reputation of FOMO, YOLO, we don't care about our futures. Why do you think that didn't carry over as much from the millennials to Gen Z?
honestly, I think a lot of it had to do with COVID. Um,
Oh.
yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with COVID. There's mixed feelings about the situation. I feel like you guys are now coming into this era where you're realizing life is getting shorter, and you're just like, you know what? I have never traveled. Like a lot of people started. Okay, so an example, the RV industry right now has been selling out like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
RV industry, like it's been so many people, and my guess is a lot of the millennials, and then of course the generation before, and they're all just buying out all these RVs. Why? I don't know. Bad time to do so. But it was more like this is our time. This is our time to do this. And so it's just been booming. People they've been buying cars like crazy, and you would think with everything going on with COVID and all that stuff that we wouldn't be doing that because I've more so been seeing the older generation than the younger generation doing this.
Mhm.
It's been like they've been buying the RVs, they've been buying the cars, they've been like kind of just like I don't know. It's that maybe it's that fear of like you know because of COVID things could end one day for them, and they're just like no. Whereas I guess my generation is more like we're good. We have for us it was the partying, and for the
Mm.
it was the I don't care, but like we didn't really have it wasn't really a money thing for us. It was more like let's keep being the young and dumb. But like not like we it's more like let's just keep having fun. But we're smart about things, but it was more like a partying aspect where I feel like the millennials they kind of took it as a I'm going to live my life. I don't care about the future right now.
Mhm.
but people, there's the other half of them that are worried about their investments. They're worried about how things are going right now in the market. It's really scaring them. I've talked to many, many, many people so far that are just like, I just want money to be protected. Like, I want to have that money, and it's not really even for them, it's for their family, or their grandkids and their sons, their smart grandkids that they keep talking about, their smart children. One of them, it's usually the one they always talk about. So they want to leave things behind for them. They don't really care about themselves anymore at this point. And maybe that's like more towards, like you said, the older millennials. But just like, I really want to focus on my children, my grandkids. I want to like solidify for them, but I don't know. There's half and half, I feel like, with you guys.
Gotcha. I think you're definitely onto something. Statistically, Gen Z saves more money than millennials. And if we could nail a reason to the wall, I'm sure we would all love to do that, and the demographers would appreciate us, but I don't know exactly what that reason is. So when you coach people, now I know you coach people of all generations, you just happen to be of that young millennial, early Gen Z generation. What are some of the principles that you want to instill in your clients, no matter what generation they are? What are some of your basic principles that you would say, this is not that it's a non-negotiable, but this is a fundamental principle?
So I always believe in doing what makes the person happy, being smart about it. So there's nothing wrong with doing what makes you happy or what you want to do with your life, as long as you're doing it the smart way. I just had a conversation with I think, yeah, pretty much a client at this point. I pretty much had a conversation with her. It's a short-term client. So I had a conversation with her, and we were just talking about how, like, because everybody has different spending habits and some people don't, but they still have those things that cause them to go out of whack. And a lot of them are centered around things like family, or they giving money away. I know, because I personally have this issue. And so they talk about that. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to do that, do it. But let's be smart about it. If you're going to, give money away, to your family, like, you probably give tithes and offerings anyway, and that's in your budget. So you might as well put a certain amount. I had to do it for myself just to be aware of what I'm doing. And just the same for people who want to travel right now. And they're just like, you know what? I don't care about anything. I just want to drop everything and travel. Trust me, I love traveling. I'm going to do it too. But there's just a way to do it so that you're not totally messing up the fabrics of time for your life, and just saying, looking back and being like, dang, like, you can still do what you want to do, but just be smart about it. And that's kind of what I'm centered around.
Yeah, I love that, because, and that's why, and I know that you subscribe to this philosophy as all, but sinking funds, man. I mean, that's where it's at. If you want to, I don't care, of course I care what the monthly budget looks like, right? If I'm working with a client, but I don't care if we've got $50 a month that we're helping mom out a little bit because she needs a little bit of help right now, $100 a month, whatever it is. I don't care if our sinking fund for travel is $500 a month. If it fits in the budget and we've got all of the other principles in place and all the other basics in place, then why the heck not, right? But like you said, just do it smartly. Don't be out here like, oh, I need to take an emergency trip to the Italian coast.
Your emergency fund and going to do it, and it's like, okay, but when you come back home, though,
right,
what's gonna happen? So exactly. It's thinking about the technically the consequences after, it's a big thing.
Yes, definitely. So speaking of consequences, Destiny, I created this show to help people realize that we all make financial mistakes, and you are not guest number one, and you are not going to be the last guest. So what is the dumbest thing that you've ever done with money, Destiny?
Okay, so I would say, like, there's small things, but because the one that I chose, because and it's probably bad because it's not really in my control, but it is, but it's not. And then it's probably one of the biggest things I wish I could change. And so that's just student loans. There's so much controversy around it. Like, when you talk to so many people in the world, they don't even do the thing they get the degree in. And it's like, we normalize, we need to, okay, this is going to get deep for me, but it's like, people constantly like push down your throats. And I hear it from friends, family, especially my generation. when we go to like family events, and the first thing they ask you, oh, what are you doing? Are you in school? And then like it's like as soon as you're like, oh no, I'm not right now, or I'm taking a semester, or I'm doing this instead, it's like a frowned upon thing. And I feel
Mm.
like because it's such um a hard, like especially when we talk to millennials, or when we talk to the generation before, I think that's Gen X or maybe.
Yep.
So when we talk to them, because I've experienced this like all the time. Talk to it with friends, talk to it with family. I've like just experienced it in my own life on a regular basis. And then you feel bad about yourself. And in reality, and then you start being insecure about what you're doing with your life. And you start getting looked down on, like, oh, you're not doing anything in your life. But in reality, it's like if you look at the statistics and how many people do things with their degree, it's like, okay, why do we have a degree? Just to prove that, there's billionaires and millionaires that don't have a degree that make so much money. There's people who don't even need licenses. Dave Ramsey. And giving out advice and changing people's lives. And it's
Right.
like, why is it such a huge thing to, like, we need to normalize the fact that degree is not the only option.
Yeah.
Even like the small things, like the micro things, like when you talk to your advisors and they're like, they talk about the 529s and things like that. And it's like, why I gotta be a 529? Why?
Right.
Like it's like you're setting up your child for a future that you didn't even give them the option to choose about. And that's what makes
Right.
me angry. It's like, okay, and like I deal with it. Like if you want to do that, by all means. But I'm just like, my option would be I'll save up that money for my child, but I'm not gonna just put it in something where they can only use it for a university or
Yep.
when maybe they want to go to trade school, or maybe they want to go, like some people want to go to the military. All right, cool. But and then what? You know what I mean? So it's like it's like pre-programmed already. It's the programming of it, and it makes me.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel like it's like, dang, I wish I would have known this sooner. And
Mhm.
it's hard to, because when you're in high school and even middle school, they're already programming you. They're already just like, okay, we got to get you ready for college. We got to get you ready for college. We got to get you ready for college. And that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. I love education. I love learning. I enjoyed my first 2 years of college. I enjoyed it, but I feel like I gained a lot of life experience from college, more so than the educational, which is
Right.
crazy. And
What would you say to a high school student today? So it is starting to, the tide is starting to turn a little bit. So I just want to point out Laura's comments here. Laura apparently knows a doctor who never graduated from high school. That is amazing, Laura. Amazing.
you know this.
Yeah.
People know
Yeah.
this. They know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. So the tide is shifting a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We've got, like, I mean, we are not dissing Dave Ramsey right now. That guy, he's got some degrees, right? He had lots of letters at the end of his name when he did all his certifications, but in the field that he is working in right now, he does not even need a college degree, right? As he always jokes around, he could have just graduated from high school in the backwoods of Antioch, Tennessee, and he would have been just fine, right? His education really truly came from his failures with his own money. That's where his education came from. Exactly. People like Mike Rowe, if our audience is not familiar, he's the dirty jobs guy. He's created a foundation that encourages people to go to trade schools. So all of his scholarships are only for trade schools. And we're losing a lot of these plumbers, linemen, electricians. We need these people in order to survive, right? Working with your hands, right? So it is starting to shift a little bit. There is definitely, like you're saying, a big backlash against these, because people are walking away with degrees they're not going to use and $100,000 in student loans. What do you think? Yeah, what do you think is going to help continue that slow push that we're seeing towards?
That generation's on fire, and then the next generation coming up, they're even more ruthless.
Yeah.
We're ruthless. It's crazy. But when I tell you that we're fighting against that, like there's so much, a lot of things, like we've come a long way in the progression of people and what's accepted and what's not accepted. And there's been so much, like we have Juneteenth coming up, we have Pride Month. Like there's so many things that we fought for and that we have, and the millennials, don't get me wrong, y'all looking at us like, oh my God, what? Y'all did that. So I feel like as long as, like, our continuous for the no bull is pretty much just going to keep it going. We're going to keep fighting, and then the world's going to have no choice but to conform to the fact that we're now open. Like we're now, there's no, like there's not going to be as much pressure. Things are going to change because eventually our generations are going to die off. Sadly, we're going to die off, and so whatever's left over is that's how it's going to keep continuing, unless there's some virus or something. I don't know.
I mean, that would never happen. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All ages. So yeah.
But no, I mean, I think you're right. I think I would love to wake up tomorrow and for every teacher in America, for every parent in America, for every family member at a family reunion who walks up to the 19-year-old and goes, "Why aren't you in college?" Right. I would love for all of those people to have this singular mind shift of not everybody needs to go to college.
There's so many entrepreneurs. And I think that people in college, I feel like, is a necessary part of life, not necessarily the part of it being college. Let's get rid of the word. I feel like the time period on when we're the most lost between the ages of 17 and what is it, like 22, 23 when people graduate?
Depending on what you're graduating with, sure.
Yeah, like 21 to 23, right? So we're the most lost during that time. And I feel like college is kind of the next safe space that we're used to because we're used to school. We've been lined up for 12 years and it's like, okay, what's the next thing? Okay, I don't want to throw them straight out in life. So let's put them in this little box here and let's let them go through this mini life in college where we're broke. We trying to figure things out. We're doing this, but we have like a kind of a safety net. I feel like that's necessary. However, they need to change things up. Like, for example, talk about more things that are going to prepare us more for life instead of just throwing us just extra things we got to cram in our head that we're not going to remember next week. That's what bothers me about it because I feel like it's such a necessary time period in our life and it's safe. Don't get me wrong, but it's also too safe. You guys need to, like, the system needs to help us a little bit more with grasping the idea of life.
And I love it.
I'll just not enough.
I absolutely love it. One of the things I would add to a high school and or college curriculum would be how to do taxes.
Yes, taxes. Oh God, I still don't know how to do it. I tell you, I was so lost this year, man. I was like, why was I never taught taxes? And the crazy part, I was introduced to Dave Ramsey in my senior year of high school. Mind you, there's a lot of things going on. Hormones, boys, females, grades, parents, trauma, trying to figure out life, bullying, all that stuff is going on in high school, right? How do you have and then they rush through everything. So it's like, I literally had one point in my senior year where I was trying and she gave us a whole Dave Ramsey thing. She didn't teach us. She just had us watch a whole bunch of Dave Ramsey videos. And so me, because I'm the type of student that, likes to learn stuff like that, I guess I automatically picked it up, but it wasn't enough for me, even for me. And I can imagine the people that are not really more school prone, the people that are not really about school like that. It's hard for them. They're more hands-on people. And we spent 12 years of school just to come out with no degree or nothing that we're not a professional in anything. We go out 12 years of school and not a professional in anything. Ain't that crazy?
That is, I honestly have never really heard it said that way. Wow. We are truly in school for 12 years and we walk away with
a piece of paper,
high school diploma. Who even knows where their high school diploma is?
No idea.
No. And if you don't graduate, you go and you just get the GED and that's another piece of paper. Who even knows where that is? Unless you need it for a job, no one knows where that stuff is. But that is a great point. If you went to school at any other point in your life for 12 years and walked away without a meaningful piece of paper or knowledge, we would look at you as a failure.
Pretty much. And that's
kind amazing.
Of, yeah, that's how we come out. And then we still have to figure out.
We still got to go figure out. Right. So Laura makes a great point. One of those things that can take the place of college would be trade schools, right? And like you said, there is still this buffer that we've created where, and I hesitate to use this word because, a trade school, you're learning something or whatever, but it is kind of still a safe space because you're in training, right? Whether it's 2 years, 4 years, whatever, you're not fully into the real world yet, technically. And I understand that. what would you recommend for some people who know that college is not their thing?
I would say, because I feel like as long as you have ambition and you have goals and determination, literally the whole world is out there for you. So technically, if you don't want to go to college, because it's like, especially with history, now that's a whole nother topic, especially when it comes to people of color. A lot of us were not made to go to school because we weren't ever put in that situation to even be in the same schools. So a lot of us, especially the men, are more hands on. That's where we work. That's our career. That's how it's in the bloodline, man. So if that's not for you, and sometimes it's hard because you have your family on your back and all that, and sometimes that could be a little hard to push
Yeah.
off. It is very hard. So but you just got to go with your heart. You got to go with your gut. And if you know you're the type of person that's a go-getter, you know you're the type of person that has ambition and you have drive, you really don't need college. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
Make it
Yeah.
out there still. Just make sure you're always learning and educating yourself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I had an intern. I think I've talked about him. Oh, what does Laura have to say here? Let's see. If the young adult is really wanting to go to college, they can always start college classes in high school. That's right. Yes, exactly. I did that in my school, Laura. We had a partnership. I grew up in New York, and we had a partnership with Syracuse University, which was a long way away from where I was living. But I walked out of high school with 5 or 6, 3 or 4 college classes under my belt already. That's a good point. And Saskia teaches a class.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, love her. Yes. Financial literacy is so important, not only in high school, but during the years of elementary, middle, and even college and trade schools. Yes,
Yeah.
it's so good. If anybody needs their kids talk to about money, look up Saskia. She is our resident expert here. So I love what you said, Destiny, about there is a lot of pressure from families. And I had an intern a long, long time ago before I was a financial coach who actually went to a technical high school. Okay, now that's great, right? It's this big technical high school. They have a great reputation. They've got auto shop, they've got woodworking, they've got electrician school. These kids are going and leaving this high school, going straight into a trade almost, or at least into an apprenticeship. Even he was pressured to go to college for a year and a half. Even he was pressured to go to college. And when he left, I remember talking to him because, he was my intern. So I felt a little responsibility for him. And he said, it's just not for me. And I was like, and I remember sitting there and going, did you try it? Do you really think you gave it enough time? Blah, 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 blah. And sure enough, he is in a trade now and he is doing amazing. Him and his wife are expecting a baby. I am so proud of them. But even I am guilty of having put that pressure on him. And so it's just something that we need to get away from. And I think your generation and your passion for not taking any BS and saying, nope, we're going to do this our way is contagious for sure.
Wow, it has been. It's been a real uprising ever since, I think, the past couple of years before COVID, but definitely during COVID and after the fact. Man, it's been an uproar from like so many different individuals, so many different groups. It's beautiful, really, because we are in a society and it's strange, and we're figuring it out. We're figuring out that there's more to it than what we're being told, and everything is questionable. And so, if that's the case, might as well do what I want.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Destiny, thank you so much for joining us and for your vulnerability and also your passion. Guys, everybody go follow Destiny on Instagram. She is at Destination Coaching, and all of her links are in the show notes below, so you can find her there. And Destiny, thanks again for joining us and telling us about the dumbest thing you've ever done with money. And if you guys jumped in late, make sure to look at the YouTube page tomorrow and you can catch all of Destiny's episode. Thanks again, Des.
Thanks, Suzanne.